Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We're your hosts, Morgan
and Bailey.
Well, you guys, hello again.
Hello.
I said hello again because we're re-recording this because we're having microphone issues. So if you noticed that in this episode, don't let us know.
Just pretend we don't sound weird and move on.
We're aware that it's happening. But before we get into our episode, of course, we want to know what is filling our cup. So Bailey, what's filling your cup?
I am drinking a Zevia, so I feel like that's become our new normal with the waters, and now it's Zevias, but vanilla cold Zevia, love it, love it. What's filling your cup?
I also have a Zevia.
Amazing.
It's creamy root beer. I really think we're going to have to reach out to them for like a sponsorship.
Yeah, we mention you at least 4 times every episode.
Seriously.
Please send us something.
Exactly, yeah. So
funny.
that's what's filling our cup. Hopefully you have something delicious filling yours right now as you listen. And we do want to give a couple shout outs today.
Yes.
So first off, we did have a handful of people participate in our giveaway. Of course, we announced that Haley Massey was the winner of that, but we also wanted to shout out Haley Kirkham because she was kind of the first one that really dove right in and started participating.
Yeah,
and like
she tagged so many people, shared so many posts. It was awesome. It was really cool to see it like popping up on our notifications.
Yes, and we used like a random, I asked Bailey to give me a number between 1 and 25 because we had 25 entries, and she gave me the number 14, and that just happened to be our winner.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason that others didn't win, but it was really, really sweet to see Haley participate. So Haley Kirkham, I love ya, and I miss ya, and hopefully you're listening.
Amazing. I also had another shout out. So we got a new Spotify review. Now, Spotify doesn't let you see who reviews, like who, I guess it's not a review, it's more of a rating. Spotify doesn't let you see who does it, but I just wanted to say to whoever it was out there who left us 5-star review on Spotify, thank you so much. It makes us so happy to see, and it's very encouraging, so thank you. If you have not yourself left a 5-star Spotify rating yet, go and leave one now.
Yes, I've looked at like our metrics before, and we do have about half Spotify, half Apple.
Yeah.
And on Apple, we can see who leaves us those. I don't think just if you do a rating, but if you leave like an actual review with just like, love them, some little text, then we can definitely see it. So I know on Apple we can, on Spotify we can't, but it still does help a ton. So thank you. Shout out to you all. We love you.
Yes, thank you guys so much. I also want to give a quick reminder that we are also on YouTube. So if you aren't having time to like listen in your car, in your headphones or whatever, you can also put us on YouTube anytime, and all of our episodes are there as well.
Absolutely. Now, into the episode.
Let's get into it. We're talking all about traveling and planning vacations.
Yeah, favorite thing.
I feel like, I don't want to self-proclaim too much, but I feel like we're pretty good at that.
Oh yeah, I feel
you're
like
an expert at this point.
I feel like both of us have traveled a lot in the last few years, and I feel like we've traveled with a lot of different dynamics, like whether it's with our family or significant others' families, whether it's more of a low-key thing, city, beach, bachelorette parties, weddings, birthdays, all of the things. I feel like we've kind of gotten to a place where we both have some tricks and tips and things that we can offer. So I know that I thought of this because, well, you just got back from a trip.
I did.
You just got back from a Chicago trip. And then in March, we have a planned family trip to California, which is actually going to be insane because we like never travel as a family.
We literally never traveled as a family.
And there's so many of us.
Yeah.
So I know we've all kind of already started making plans because we booked our flights and all that, and we'll talk a little bit later about how we do that and ways to save money, things like that. But I feel like we've all kind of started thinking about the plans, but honestly, sometimes with these episodes, I like to just think through and talk through things that are actually happening in like our real lives.
Yes, it makes it easier.
It's honestly, it's like doing homework for both. Like I get to do the homework. I get to do the homework for my thing in my life, but also then share with others who, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people just finish 2024 and are already making their plans for where they're going to travel in 2025, or mapping out what vacations they have coming up. So that was kind of why I thought of it. And when I was like Googling stuff about trips and blah, 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 I did find something, I can't even remember. It was like Brain HQ or something like that.
Okay.
So my citation is not that good. But I found something that said that people often have stronger memories of a trip than they have of their own day-to-day.
Oh.
And I find that to be very true.
Yes.
Like, I feel like you make a lot of memories on trips.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can make negative memories. I feel like it's less common because no matter what, you're on vacation, you're not working, whatever.
Yeah, you're trying to make it a good time.
Yes, but unfortunately, I do feel like an argument that you have on like a girls trip or something sticks in your brain for really long. I don't think they would mind me sharing this, but I went on a girls trip to see Taylor Swift back a long time ago. I can't remember when. Reputation tour. And I took a girls trip with the Butte girls, my roommates at the time, and we always talk about like some of the silly arguments that we got into, and they're kind of funny now, but they definitely like stuck with us as much as the like fun things.
Yeah.
So I feel like you remember a lot from trips and vacations because you're out of your everyday norm and it's not monotonous. So you want to make as many of those memories as positive as possible.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we're going to help you guys do. We're going to help you guys plan a trip, help like take you through kind of how we set up trips and start the planning process and get everybody included in that while kind of doing a lot of the work for planning it. I don't know if that's necessarily correct. My husband would argue that I do 10% of the work while he does 90, and I'll give that to him. But I am good at planning trips.
I feel like you're good at determining like maybe what the vibes will be.
I'm a good vibe reader.
Well, I feel like you're also really good at kind of this first part, which honestly our first tip is like where to start and how to set expectations. And I feel like you're really good at knowing what you want.
Oh yeah.
And this is something I feel like people sometimes are like, oh yeah, I just want to like go relax on the beach or whatever. And then they plan a trip to like somewhere
Chicago.
No, well, not that bad, but like they plan a trip to somewhere in like Florida or California and then realize that the beach is actually like an hour away from anywhere they're going.
Oh, I got you.
And it's not very relaxing because they have to pack up all the food, they have to they have to find, it's just it's more complicated. And so I feel like you're really good at knowing what you want and like finding a place that matches that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I do a lot of the planning for our trips in our relationship, but I think that's something that's really good about if you are the planner is planning for the people that you're with.
Yes.
And knowing how they are. So I would say like the place that I usually start first whenever I'm like, I want to go on a vacation, I want to plan a trip, or our family wants to go somewhere. Obviously, if there's something specific, like you're visiting a relative, or you want to be within driving distance, or you're going for like a specific event, like a concert or something, then the location's gonna be made up for you.
Right. Step one's done.
Yes. But if you're just kind of like, I need to use some PTO, it's expiring this year, like I really want to take a vacation, take advantage, then I feel like the big question for location wise is like, do you want to tour and be active and out and about, or do you want like relaxing, chill vibes, poolside maybe, something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. We just went to Savannah, Georgia recently. That Mason and I did. And that was actually a trip that I fully planned because we had been going on so many like NFL trips basically, where we were going on trips to cities to see an NFL game. And I told him, I was like, babe, I don't want to see another NFL game. I want to go somewhere else. And I knew that I wanted it to be very like small town feeling. I wanted it to be very lackadaisical. I wanted it to be somewhere where we could just like walk around and get drinks and just really have a lot of quality time. And so that's how I settled. Like I went for the vibe of what I was feeling, and that's how we settled on Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, that's great. And a lot of the time, Southwest or other airlines probably do too. I just usually fly Southwest, but they'll do, so like if the location and timing is not totally important to you, a lot of the time they'll do little deals where you can look and it says like flights from $59. Usually it says like want to get away deal or something.
Yeah.
Flights from $59 or something like that. And then you can go and look and see what parts of the country would qualify, and then you can kind of narrow down by the vibe that you're going.
Yeah.
Like if you're wanting more of a city active vibe. I haven't even gotten to debrief on your Chicago trip, but I'm sure that you guys were like doing lots of things.
Oh
like,
my God, yes.
Anytime you go to a place like Chicago or New York or a place like a big city like that,
Yes.
there's something new to do.
Yes, I still haven't recovered. I'm still exhausted.
So yeah, so those are kind of the two options. It's like you can go with like a relaxing, maybe like a lake, beach, resort style option, or you can go more for like a city, historical site, maybe like an NFL stadium type of spot, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of where you can start with.
Yeah.
Now the second question, and I feel like this is one of the most important things for me, is who you're going with and who you're going for. This is what changes everything when it comes to itinerary.
Absolutely.
For me, at least.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the trip that I would plan for me and you would be different than the trip that I would plan for our entire family. Would be different than the trip that I would plan for me, you, Jared, and Mason.
Yeah.
You know?
Completely.
And yeah, so or like the trip that I would plan for your bachelorette, you know?
Right.
So there's a lot of considerations, I feel like.
You definitely have to be very considerate. You have to really think about what the other people are needing that a lot of times they won't say. And so I feel like if you're like the main planner, you've just really got to think really hard about who you're traveling with, I think.
Yeah. So I feel like the category that I kept thinking about first was like bachelorette parties and like birthday parties. I've traveled a lot in the last couple years for bachelorette parties, and I've planned a couple bachelorette parties that were like destination ones, and I've been a part of them, and every bride is so different. You know? And same with like birthdays. I know a lot of people listening are having milestone birthdays probably soon. 25, 30, 35, you know what I mean? So it's really exciting to have those birthdays, and I've also traveled for milestone birthdays too. And so I feel like when you're traveling for someone in particular and you're planning that trip, you really have to consider them. Like, for instance, I planned a Nashville bachelorette party for you, but I also played one for my friend Kristen. And you two are very different brides.
Yeah, we had completely different parties in the same city.
Completely different parties, and you had completely different guests, you know? So, like, when I talk about considering who you're going with, like, is the person that you're celebrating, now if you're not celebrating someone, then you can consider the whole group, but they come first. But anyway, is that person, do they prefer to sleep in? Do they not like sleeping in? Like, I know Kristen, she's more like, get up, do yoga, or like, get up and go explore something, you know? And you were like,
wake me up with a mimosa.
Yeah, let me sleep in, wake me up with a mimosa, let's not have plans until like 11 or 12 at the earliest, you know. So I feel like that's one consideration to make whenever you're planning like actual activities.
I completely agree. Or like, are they going out type of person, or are they more of a go see a show type of person? Are they like let's get really dressed up and like wear heels, or are they more of a I like to stay in and wear pajamas? Like, you do have to think about that, and you kind of have to take out what you want whenever you're celebrating a person specifically.
Yeah, I know about another bachelorette party I went to was in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the bachelorette was really chill, and her priority was honestly to spend as much time at the Airbnb as possible. Amazing. She was like, I picked an Airbnb that I loved that had a pool because I wanted like the money that we spent on that Airbnb to be worth it. And then like it was also important to her to have a couple of nice meals. And honestly, it was such a chill bachelorette, and it was so fun. And we still went out in the evenings. Yeah. But we like took our damn time getting ready. Like she just really wanted girl time. You know, that was her bachelor. And you know how like when you have all the time in the world to get ready, you take 3 hours to get ready.
Of course.
So that's what we did. And I feel like some bachelorettes would have felt like, gosh, what a waste of time. Like, you traveled for this and you didn't go and see a million things.
Yep.
But I felt like it was totally suited to her, that like we enjoyed each other's company, we enjoyed the Airbnb that we're paying hundreds of dollars for, and then we enjoyed like bits and pieces of the city like in the evenings.
Yes, I love that. It's very tailored to whoever you're celebrating, for sure.
Yeah. So then family is another one. I feel like maybe you've done more family, maybe just like lake vacations than I have.
Yeah. We've traveled with Mason's family a couple times, but really it has only been like lake trips.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago we would do some float trips, but yeah, really just lake trips so far.
What kind of considerations do you feel like you have to make when you're planning a trip for a family?
When you're with family, I definitely think that the ages of the people you're with really make a big part. So in Mason's side of the family, we were traveling with people from like his mama all the way to our little baby nephew. So we had a huge age gap there. So we would kind of make sure that, like, if we were going in the mornings, we knew that Beckett was going to be up by like 7. So we were like, yeah, we're hitting the lake by like 8. And which is crazy for me. I was the last one up, and I was like, hey guys, sorry. But then, like, in the evening time, we knew that there was going to be a lot of downtime because not everyone was going to be as go. We had some people that were going to take afternoon naps. I don't know. I felt like age was a really big part of that. Like, there was no way that we were all going to plan a trip to go to like Silver Dollar City, because that's like 45 minutes away from where the lake is. And we weren't going to do that because not everybody could do that. Like, maybe a handful of people could, but not the whole group, and you're there with the whole group. So, yeah, I would say that that's like a huge consideration. I also think that whenever you're traveling with, honestly, probably any group, but definitely family, I think that money is a big consideration as well, because each group is going to make a different amount of money, and like some people might be in a couple where they share money, some people might be single, some people might be parents. Like, everyone's in such different life paths right now, and like, I don't know, just different situations. So I do think that money is also a big contributor. And so, like, you know, we made a lot of meals at home. Instead of like, let's go out every meal. Also, there's not a restaurant within like 30 miles, but like we made a lot of meals at home kind of thing. So I think those are huge considerations.
Yeah, I think, I like the budget, considering budget, and then also considering like the nap schedule or the sleep schedule or whatever. And then another big one that I've noticed with family, and I haven't taken many family trips either, but just naturally, like, half of your bachelorette party was our family. So
naturally.
So one other thing that I think about considering all the time now too is, well, and not even just that one. Anyway, one of the things that I think about all the time too now is also considering like different levels of like introversion, extroversion, or even different levels. Like, you might not think it initially because you like may not have any kids on the trip or something. Like, at this point, all of our family are adults. When we go to California, we're all going to be adults. But we have to consider things like people who may have to have some time away at some point during the day, like might need some alone time. I am really bad about, like, on trips, I am the person who, like, I really like to make the most of the trip and whatnot. And so I feel like when I go to a cool city, I'm not doing myself justice if I am like just spending time at the Airbnb, that sort of thing.
I have such a problem with feeling like I'm wasting time if I take a nap or take an extra long shower. I'm like, we gotta go.
Yeah, which again, I think that goes back to like when you're choosing a location, be really thoughtful about it, because if you are like us and you feel like you're wasting time if you're in a cool city, like maybe you just need to take that off the take that off as an option and go to like a all-inclusive resort. Like,
oh my god,
I genuinely think that if you're the type of person who you need a break from work, you need a break from whatever stress life, and you want to go on vacation, but then you add the stress and hassle of planning a trip and then getting there and like going through all the things that you have on your itinerary, like, you probably just didn't need that.
No, you didn't. You need to slow down, not speed up.
Yeah, so now at the same time, like, I find myself, and like continuing to learn about myself, but I find myself having different periods of life where I really want to plan a trip and I really want to be go on the trip.
Oh yeah.
And then there are other times where I'm like, I just need to like sign up for something, go, get away, and once I get there, I can do as I please, you know?
Absolutely.
And not feel pressured to do anything else. So anyway, all that to say that people are different, and there may be times during a trip when you have to like kind of plan for alone time, solo time. I would say that's true with family as well as with friends.
I think so too.
And like you were saying earlier, I do feel like with family there may be a little bit more of an obligation to stick together for the entire time. I feel like depending on what your friend group is like, friend groups aren't always the same. Like sometimes it's less weird if like 3 or 4 people go off to a coffee shop while 3 or 4 people hang back at the Airbnb and take a nap or whatever. So
especially if it's already kind of pre-planned that way.
Yes.
Like then it really helps, and no one's feeling left out and no one's feeling weird about it because it was already agreed upon. It was already planned that way.
Yeah. Jared calls it free play.
Free play? Oh my gosh.
He does that all the time in our house too. Like if we have like a day where we have plans, he's like, okay, from 1 to 4 is free play. That's like we do. Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
And then he's like, okay, but at 4 we have to leave for whatever. You know.
Wait, scheduling in free play on your itinerary for a trip is so smart.
You have to, or else. I don't know, or else I feel like people start to feel it, and then you get to like the end of the day and you're just like exhausted.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, we really should have taken some time to
Absolutely. That's so funny. I love it. Well, let's say that you've got your plans, or let's say you've got your location and you've got your group going. Now our next big step is structuring the trip plans.
Yes. So obviously I feel like the easy one is if you do like a resort or like a lake vacation or something where you're mostly staying in one place at the same time, then it's pretty easy once you're there to structure your trip because you don't have to structure that much. Besides like meals and any like must see things or not must see but like must do activities, like let's say if you do go to a resort and you really, really want to go to a specific restaurant, or you really, really want to do the kayaking or something like that, then obviously you're going to want to like plan those into your week when you get there. But the thing is, about most resorts, like most of them offer most things every day.
Yeah.
And if they don't at like the beginning, they'll tell you. I will say I highly recommend doing the little stupid orientation that resorts do because it actually gives you so much info. I've been to 3 and I finally on the last one went to the orientation and I was like, oh my gosh, I know what everything is now. I know where everything is now. Really? And it was like 20 minutes. It was so nice.
That is so funny. I've only been to one resort on our honeymoon. There is not an orientation. But I do feel like the person checking us in and everything like that just gave us all the information.
Oh, good.
Or like maybe there was like a map printout or something. I don't know. But
yeah, so they usually do that, but then they usually offer some sort of like quick tour,
that
like
is
guided
funny.
Tour. It's usually like in the morning, whatever. But yeah, we went on it and I was like, oh, I know everything now. But anyway, so obviously that's pretty easy. And then like if you're, like you were saying, like when you go to the lake, it's probably pretty chill.
Yeah,
right?
like the plan is to go to the water and then come home for lunch, take a nap, go back out to the water, come back for dinner, play a game, go to bed.
Yeah,
it's pretty planned out.
Yes, and then same with we used to do a lake trip every summer with a big group of our friends, and it was the same way. Like we're staying at the place the whole time.
Yeah.
So anytime you're staying at one place for the whole time, there's not as much pressure to have like an itinerary or anything like that, but you definitely do want to have plans for like meals and any specific activities that you definitely want to do.
Definitely.
I know like one thing when we did the lake with our family that was kind of a cross in communication was Mom really wanted to do this like murder mystery thing, but we hadn't planned for it. So I feel like things like that, you kind of have to plan for it ahead of time. And so I feel like if there's any specific thing like that you're really wanting to do on your relaxing vacation, just know ahead of time that that's what you want to do. I feel like it gets a little more complicated when you do the active vacation.
Yes, I agree. For that one, you've really gotta look into what's around you. So like, for example, I just went to Chicago with Mason and then a bunch of his friends, and we really had to plan things because we were there for a lot of days, so we couldn't just sit around. We couldn't just say, oh, we're gonna go out for drinks, because like, where are you gonna go, what time, how much is it, where's the restaurant, blah blah blah. So you have to really think about all of that. A great place to start is gonna be Pinterest or even like Instagram. So I know if you look up, things to do in Chicago on either one of those, you're gonna get huge itineraries, and I have followed multiple people's itineraries that they've just posted before. Or like, you'll see reels on TikTok about things to do in Chicago that's like, here's a must-eat restaurant. You'll notice, hey, this is 4 blocks from my Airbnb that we've already booked. Maybe we could try it out. So I definitely think that those are huge places to start.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you know anybody that's traveled to that place or even lives there, that'd be a bonus because potential like transportation. Yeah, I feel like those are great places to start. I get on Instagram a lot whenever and the cool thing about Instagram is, like, say that I did this when we were considering going when we decided to go line dancing for a bachelorette party in Nashville.
Fun.
I went and like looked at the hottest spots, and on like a Saturday night, now this is really nitty gritty, but on like a Saturday night, I went to that spot, and on Instagram, they'll have the little bubbles where you can see people that tagged that location in their story. And you can click on it. So I was able to see, like, are these a bunch of old people?
Like, what's the vibes like?
Yes. And I feel like that's really especially good if you're planning for someone, but also for if there's like a specific night vibe, because I feel like people's vibes for nightlife are so different.
That one really varies by person.
Some people like really want like a club and want to dance, and some people want to do like a beer hall or something like that. So I feel like it's really helpful because you can actually go and see. And like I said, I did it on like a Saturday night or something so that I could see what it actually looked like on the day that we would most likely go. But Instagram is super duper helpful. I feel like that's really, really helpful, and I use it all the time.
Something that Mason and I use to our advantage a lot is the maps itself. So we will look up, like, if we know that we're going to a certain restaurant, we will literally look it up on like a Google Maps situation, and we'll zoom all the way in and then look at what's around it. So we've found so many things just by doing that, like a lot of like vintage shops that we're like, oh, let's just go check it out. It's right around the corner. Or like, we're like, oh, this place is known for its espresso martinis. Let's go here first and then get dinner at the reservation at 6:30 after. Like, so we use just literally the maps feature to our advantage all the time, just by zooming in and seeing what's nearby.
I do that too. I think it's really smart, and I think especially if transportation is going to be tricky, like if you're walking a lot, that's going to matter, and if you are wanting to avoid Ubering a bunch of places
to and from everywhere.
Because I don't know, 1 or 2 Ubers throughout the day isn't bad, but when you're Ubering everywhere, it does add up.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you're spending so much time in the car, and you're like, what's the point? Especially in a city like Chicago, where it's so walkable, public transportation's so easy, and so I feel like that's a great point.
Absolutely.
One way that I like structure days typically. So I first started doing this, I think, whenever we went to Vegas, but it was a really good learning opportunity for me because Jared and I are different. Like, I'm an extrovert, he's an introvert, he's a homebody, I'm not. Of course, he likes to visit the cities that we travel in, but he like does need some free play or sometimes, or he does need like chill time. He can't be going. And honestly, like, I shouldn't be either, or else I'll get tired. But so it's a good balance. But we would kind of have, like, the way that I like to structure days on a trip typically is that we eat breakfast or have coffee or whatever, like something light at the Airbnb or at the place. If there's like a little coffee shop if it's like a hotel or something, we'll do that too. But then what?
I was just thinking about that time that you guys went to Chicago and me and Mason, we had stayed in this hotel like 4 times already. And we're like, it's a great hotel, but they don't really have many amenities. And then you guys go downstairs because we sleep in. And you guys came upstairs and you were like, yeah, do you know that they have like a cafe? And we're like, what? No? And you're like, yeah, they're serving coffee and breakfast. And we're like, what? That's crazy. I don't know. You guys reminds me of that.
You guys are straight up like, I don't know, they don't have any breakfast
this hotel
options.
has nothing.
I was like, they have like a full Starbucks food menu.
And I was like, for real?
Yeah. And I was like, well, it does close at like noon, and you were like, that's why.
That's why we never do it.
It's so funny. Yeah. So
anyway.
So I like to do like kind of no pressure breakfast because I mean, unless you're doing like a hearty or like brunch or something later in the like later morning.
Yeah.
But like
just a quick bagel and coffee or breakfast sandwich.
The way that I like to do a day is like, in order to kind of consider budgets and whatnot, is try to do like one nicer meal per day, or not even nicer, but just like you're gonna pay a full amount like for that meal. And then the 2 others, which like usually I would say dinner is like the fuller meal, but say that you do brunch or something, like the 2 others you can kind of do like lighter snacks for one, so either breakfast or lunch, and then you can do like something, I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is like 2 meals out, and one of those is less expensive, one of those is more expensive, and then one meal is more like snacks or like breakfast or something like that.
Absolutely. A huge travel hack of mine is getting snacks once you get to the spot that you're going to, like finding a grocery store nearby, getting snacks for the trip, and then having them there the whole time.
Yeah, I feel like that's how I usually structure like the meals, is like one more expensive, one less expensive, and then one kind of at-home snacky type thing. And then somewhere between those meals we have like the activity of the day. So like in Vegas, one day we did the high roller, which is like the sightseeing Ferris wheel whatever thing.
Okay.
One day we did like it's not the Stratosphere, or is it? I think it's called the Stratosphere. It's like they're a really, really tall building, and they've got like a really cool bar in it and whatever. It's like an occasion.
Yeah.
You go to that. And then one day I think we counted like the Paris dinner as that like activity. So essentially like we have like one like must do activity.
Yes.
Oh, a show. One of the days was like a show in Vegas. That's really big. So this would work like in a city that is like Vegas or like Kansas, or not Kansas. Well, it would work in Kansas City. Or like if you're doing like a comedy show. I know we did that in Chicago, and you guys did that again. Like doing one of those. I feel like people get in trouble when they try to do like 2 of those activities
in one day.
Yes, in one day, because honestly, you really do have to plan to like go back in the middle of the day, or else you're exhausted.
Yes. I also just feel like it's safer to go back in the middle of the day, because what if someone needs to change their shoes? What if someone like bled through their pants? What if someone is feeling really sick? Like it's smart to have some safe time.
So you need your free play.
Free play.
So that's
I always feel so weird saying that real quick. It makes me feel like I'm saying foreplay. So at first when you said Jared calls it free play, I was like, whoa! And then I was like, wait. Free play is fine, but it just makes
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So anyway, that was just a long way of saying that's how I like to structure days. One activity, 2 meals, but one of them is like a cheaper meal, and one of them is more of like a sit-down restaurant meal, and then like one meal is chill, coffee, snack, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I prefer, and obviously you have to take into account the like early risers versus are you vacationing with early risers? Are you vacationing with sleep inners? And like, can you split off from those, or do you need to like accommodate them, like if it's like a bachelorette or something like that?
Right, absolutely. I completely agree with everything you said. I feel like I definitely structure my trips in the same way, where you do one big thing each day, and then same as you for the meals. And I feel like we always try to keep breakfast light as well, except for that there's always one day where we have some really big breakfast.
Yeah, a big like brunch. I do think that's really common on bachelorette trips, and usually like when we do like a big brunch or something, whenever we go for free play
God.
at the Airbnb, like in the middle of the day or whatever, I feel like people kind of snack on stuff for lunch, and then you might have like dinner in the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like it kind of replaces that like bigger meal, but
absolutely.
But yeah, so and then I did forget one other thing that I like to incorporate is like some sort of walking around, like not physical activity necessarily, but just like,
it's like
shopping or
sightseeing.
Yes, exactly. Something that doesn't cost money isn't like, it's not like the activity for the day.
Yes.
But it's still kind of seeing the city and you're kind of moving around.
Yeah, killing time.
Yeah.
While having fun.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think before we leave you guys and before we wrap up this episode, we'd love to give a couple of our like travel tips that we have found. I think we only have a couple, but I'll kind of start us off with, if you have a hotel and you don't have a check-in until like 4 o'clock or so, and you get there early, they'll hold your bags for you for free. If you need it, if your room's not ready, they will hold your bags. If you just ask them, we'll do it. A lot of places also will let you check in early if you call and say like, hey, we're supposed to be getting into the airport around 2, check-in's not till 4, can we do an early check-in? Most times they'll say yes. So
sometimes your Airbnb will allow it too, but you really have to message them. Another tip on Airbnb, I hadn't thought of this before now, but if you are planning for like a group or something and you found a house that's just absolutely perfect and it's out of your guys' budget, honestly, like message them and ask. I've gotten multiple Airbnbs for lower than the listing price.
Me too!
Because I just messaged them and I was like, hey, we really love your place. It would be perfect for my friend's bachelorette party.
Yeah.
But it's just a little out of our budget. Would you like...
Would you come down at all?
Yeah, would you do it at this rate? And then, you know, you can kind of negotiate.
Yeah. Because literally, worst they're going to say is no.
Seriously.
And then you move on. You say, bummer, okay.
And the result is the same because you weren't going to be able to stay there anyway with the price that it was. So that's one thing about Airbnbs that I would say. Another kind of price saving hack that I would say is, well, I already mentioned the Southwest Deals thing about the want to get away, like around certain times they'll do that. Yes. But then also around holidays like Labor Day and Memorial Day and Black Friday and whatnot. If you know that you have a trip coming up, wait until like those weekends to book your flights because they will probably have a sale. I feel like, the other thing when traveling, like if you're not flying, if you're going by car, then plan out where to stop for gas and food. I feel like it's way better because then you're not like, oh gosh, we only have like less than a quarter tank of gas and I don't know where the next Quick Trip is. Like just look at that ahead of time. Save yourself the pain.
Absolutely. And make sure that your place that you're going to has parking available for you. First time we went to Chicago, we did not know that it was not like street parking there, and we spent like $600 on parking garages. So make sure you know that. Pro tip. A big one of mine is whenever you are flying, just make sure that you're downloading something for the flight there, whether that's music, podcast, this episode, TV shows, whatever it is. Make sure you have something downloaded. I always forget to download and then I have to sit there listening to people and nobody wants to do that. So just tip to make sure you have something downloaded.
Yeah, big thing on what you were talking about with transportation.
Oh yeah.
If you do a resort like relaxation trip, make sure that you book your shuttle in advance. I've only ever gone with groups and they always book the shuttle, but it is a pain if you don't have it booked. You like sit there waiting for forever, and usually when you go to a resort, it is not like where you land is not. It's like 45 minutes usually or longer to wherever you're going. Yeah. So you definitely want to book your shuttle in advance. Make sure that the hotel has that, and if they don't automatically book it for you, that you book it. And then the other thing from my tragic honeymoon, just kidding, it was such a great honeymoon, but Jared will never live this down.
No, he won't.
Make sure that your passports are valid and not expired before you go anywhere that requires a valid passport. Because we on our honeymoon, that was like Jared's one job, by the way. I planned like the whole wedding and he planned our honeymoon trip. He like booked the flights and booked the hotel. And we were gonna go on a cruise and when we got there to like check in for the cruise, his passport was like 4 months expired.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
You guys made the best of it. And it was definitely a perfect early marriage test.
No, it was honestly, I have like the best memories of that honeymoon. It's like one of my favorite trips. And Julia worked for Marriott at the time, so we got like $50 hotel rooms. It was awesome. So yeah, I was super duper thankful for that trip. But yeah, it was just funny. So seriously, check your passports at least 2 months in advance.
Yes.
Because even with like rushing, they take like 6 weeks to be delivered. So check your passports, IDs, all that.
Yes. I think my last tip, and most people know this, but if you do not, because I did not know this for my first flight, is that there are weight capacities and like liquid limits. I don't know.
Yes.
Like limit capacities basically. So you can not bring like a full size bottle of shampoo. It has to be smaller. There's like it has to be under a certain amount of ounces. You can Google that, but just make sure that you are aware of that, because I was not for my very first flight. And I know it's because I had never flown before and never really knew anyone who did. So in case you are listening to this and also have never flown, that's something to think about.
Yeah, someone at one of the bachelorette parties that I had her whole bag. Like, it does also take longer to get through security when you have that, because they have to check your bag, get it out, whatever. She had a whole can of dry shampoo, like a full thing, and she had to toss it, and I was like, you have to check that. Like, those can only go in checked bags. But she just had no idea, and
No, you don't know unless you've flown.
Right,
like, you have no idea, because then people assume that you know, and you have no clue.
Yeah.
Funny.
So.
I know, sorry. One last things that you also cannot take. Ladies, if you're listening to this, make sure your men know this. Men, make sure you know this. You cannot bring a straight razor through the airport. I have been with 2 men now who have gotten stopped for bringing straight razors, because they forget. They're like, oh, this is what I use to like shave my face. You can't bring that.
Oh, but you can do electric.
Straight razors, like just straight up like the blade. And like like it's not like a regular razor.
Oh.
It's like I'll show you.
Because it's like a knife. I think. No, I know what you're talking about. But how interesting.
I know you cannot bring those because it's like a knife. It's like a weapon.
It's straight up. It's like a knife.
There you go. You may not have known that. There you go.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up our episode.
Yes.
Please send this to whoever you're going on a trip with next, or whoever you want to go on a trip with next.
Yeah. Say, hey, 2025, let's plan a trip.
Yes, and please share with us if you have other travel hacks and tips that you'd like to share. A lot of ours I feel like are stateside. We didn't talk a lot international, so if you've got specific things for that, let us know, and maybe we'll be sharing some of our itineraries from past trips.
Oh, that'd be fun. We should. All right, well, thanks guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Cheers!